Of course, I heard about what was going on, or the tension and the war that's going on between Israel and Iran. But the truth be told, I didn't become interested in finding out what was going on until America got involved in this war. I did a little research, and America and Iran have had a hostile relationship for over the past 70 years, rooted in the 1953 CIA-backed coup that deposed Iran's prime minister and the 1979 Islamic Revolution. So this video is going to be compiled of footage that I found online showing the destruction of this war, and also I'm going to add a little bit of reactions from people about the war and whatnot. And I'm also going to disclose something that I'm sure a lot of people haven't been thinking about since it happened. I'll be back. Hey everyone, let's jump into this. I was looking at YouTube and I was looking at news videos and news reportings and various content creators talking about the war between Israel, Iran, and America. And I was like, wow, this is, some would say epic, some would say it's scary, some would say, they don't know what is going to happen with this. So I thought I'd compile a video showing what I saw and then also what I discovered. I'm sure people who were adults at that time, when I tell you what I discovered, you'll remember, of course, duh. And then to those who are just now hearing about it, it might be some very interesting intake on how I'm going to say how I feel about Iran and how Black Americans, I assume, feel about Iran. And I'm just being straight up with it. Listen to this. Listen to what happened. Okay, there was a hostage situation that jumped off with Iran. They went to a U.S. embassy in their country and they made Americans their hostage. During the 1979 Iran hostage crises, Ayatollah Khomeini ordered the release of 13 hostages, primarily Black Americans and women. In November 79, citing solidarity with oppressed minorities and respect for women, these individuals were deemed unlikely to be spies, unlike the 52 others held for 444 days. Here's a little bit of the details. The release date, the first group of 13 hostages, which included Black men and women, were released on November the 17th through the 19th in 1979. Reasoning, Khomeini cited an Islamic duty and a desire to show solidarity with marginalized groups, aiming to influence American public opinion. Number released. The initial release involved 13 people, followed by another release later in the crises controversy. In later years, some of the Black and female hostages released early were excluded from financial compensation deals that benefited those held for the full 444 days. They couldn't get anything for emotional distress. They didn't know if they were going to live or die. That's cold. So yeah, that's a little bit of the information I wanted to share with you about Iran's relationship, or a relationship they try to forge with marginalized groups, mainly Black Americans and women. Had me thinking and looking at Iran differently. For the past couple of years, I have been having thoughts about our country being invaded. Yep, I have. And I never felt fear or anything. Let me tell you why. Because when I had those thoughts, I always saw that my people were not going to be treated foul, because they know that we have been having our own war in our country for centuries. And then I have a family member who told me 2 years ago that they kept having dreams and thoughts of a war. This was over 2 years ago. So I think a lot of people who have derogatory, unflattering thoughts about us, about Black Americans, there's going to be a day that you're going to outwardly regret it. You are. So let me get into showing you the clippings that I stumbled across in regards to this war. Check this out.
And tonight, stunning new details of what led up to the massive operation to topple the Iranian regime. As new video emerges at the moment Ayatollah Khomeini's compound was hit. A source telling ABC News the CIA had been tracking the supreme leader for months, down to his daily routine. An Israeli source briefed on the joint strike telling us Israeli intelligence discovered that Khamenei spent quite a lot of time above ground in his offices and not in his bunker. When the US learned the supreme leader would be meeting with top Iranian officials in Tehran on Saturday, the source says the timing of the attack was moved up. The US and Israel saying the 86-year-old Khamenei was killed in the very first round of attacks.
But they will continue to launch, as we're seeing now, and they have prepared stockpiles that are successfully hidden, sequestered, spread out, that they'll be able to draw upon for months. We, on the other hand, will run out of ammunition in weeks. And again, we look at regime change just to look at coming out from a targeting perspective. Again, for the ignorant masses in your chat and everybody else's chat, I used to do this for a living, so shut up and listen.
The U.S. air raids on Iran continued early Sunday, with the Pentagon taking to social media to praise the B-2 stealth bombers that targeted Iran's ballistic missile facilities. This comes as the U.S. announced its first casualties. 3 service members stationed in Kuwait were killed, and at least 5 more injured since the campaign against Iran began. Iran is vowing revenge, taking aim at U.S. allies in the region. On Sunday, an Iranian missile struck a synagogue in Israel, killing at least 9 people. Iran also firing on cities throughout the United Arab Emirates, one day after striking a luxury hotel in Dubai. Global reaction to the Iran strikes is mixed. On Sunday, anti-U.S. protesters in Karachi, Pakistan, stormed the U.S. consulate. In Yemen, tens of thousands took to the streets, shouting anti-American and anti-Israeli slogans and burning U.S. flags. The Prime Minister of Canada is among those supporting the U.S. action.
Canada supports the United States acting to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
I believe that Americans have gotten a little too complacent. I think you guys, you're so concerned about the latest celebrity gossip and just unnecessary things. And I think that when something does touch the soil, a lot of you guys are not going to be prepared. I've been telling people, my folks, personally and privately, to prepare since like 2015. And what I mean by prepare, I mean like, how many of you guys have candles in your house? I'm not talking about candles just for the aroma. I'm talking because they smell good and they look pretty. I'm talking about for emergency purposes. How many have matchsticks? How many have flashlights? How many people have generators? Have the ability to cook and sanitize water, have heat if the electricity goes out? You know, you guys need to think about that. How many have weapons? You anti-gun folks. What are you going to do when people surround your house? And I ain't talking about gangbangers and street thugs. I'm talking about if foreign enemies encroach this country, how are you going to be able to protect yourself? Your car's not going to do it. So some of you guys, oh my God, I can't stand guns. But when push kind of shove, you're going to wish you had at least a 22. Yes, I am a registered gun owner. Every single gun I have, including a shotgun, is registered. I hope I never have to use it against someone. But it ain't gonna be me and mine, I'll tell you that much. You guys need to start taking this a little more serious. How many have spare gas? Do you have gas cans? You have anything? A pocket knife? A Swiss Army knife? Pepper spray? You have anything to defend yourself and your family? Oh. Let's go on. I'm going to play a couple of reactions from people, mainly black folk, and then I'm going to show some more clips of this war. They're saying it's World War III. They've been wanting a war. You notice people have been wanting a war in this country for decades, and I guarantee you most of them who want a war are not even ready. That is so sad. Check this out.
Don't be saying too much about Iran. They said that we're cool. They said that we are cool. They said African Americans have been through a lot. So don't say too much. Don't go over there and don't be doing too much. And you know, if you look like us and you wearing that camo, you better not be doing too much. Because they said that we cool. They said that we cool. So I just want to let y'all remember that. Like, they said that we cool. They know that we kidnapped. They know that we're hostage. We have no nationalism in this bitch. We ain't got no say. We ain't got no motherfucking... I ain't got no say.
And she has a point. When it really comes down to it, this country does not pay attention to us. They don't listen to us. They discount us every chance they get. Just look at what the Democratic Party did. For decades, they have been trying to put immigration or immigrants over us. And you have so many black people that come in and like, they're trying to replace us. They're trying to replace us. Okay, have you ever tried to replace something that's authentic and priceless with something that's generic? It may seem like it's working really good until it's not. And I say to you guys, I say in multiple videos, they didn't have the ability to do it during slavery. What makes you think they can do it now? They couldn't replace us during and after slavery. How the hell they gonna do it now? And then I'm trying to get you people who are prejudiced and biased and racist against black Americans to see the clearer picture. Even though if some of you guys get it, I think it'll be too late. But if people from other countries, you think Iran is the only one who sympathized with us? Who wanted marginalized people to know they understand? No, Iran isn't the only country. There are other countries who know what the black American plight in their own country. And if they asked us how we feel, how do you guys feel? Black Americans, how do you feel about how you have been treated in your country? You think we're gonna lie to cover for you? You never covered for us. You never protected us. Matter of fact, you guys are still unaliving black men in trees and then lying and saying they're committing suicide. You're still giving black women, black American women, a hard time in a hospital when they're giving birth to their children. You're still giving us a hard time when we go try to get jobs just to take care of ourselves and our families. And then you want to turn around and call us criminals. But then we're finding out that the people you guys brought over here from other countries, you guys have been in cahoots with each other, robbing this country blind. So if they ask us how we feel about how this country and the people in this country have treated us, you think we gonna lie to protect your ass? I'm gonna tell you straight up, I'm not. Let them reach out and ask me. I'm gonna tell them straight up how it's been. You think I won't? Let's continue.
Looking at niggas. Boy, y'all not these using gang. But we do not want that smoke with y'all. Oh God, we do not want that smoke with y'all. Well, hey, whatever he said, we don't got no parts in the game.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Message to Iran. Yes, my brothers. This is Black America. Yes, we have nothing to do with what Donald Trump is doing. I just want to say to you, my brothers, remember that joke we was talking about with dude put the comb up and, you know what I'm saying, he had the mustache and we all started laughing and stuff? You know what I'm saying? You remember that? You know, I don't hear that. We cool, bro.
Why China and Russia won't fight for Iran. For years, Iran believed it had powerful friends, Russia, China, but as US military pressure intensifies, Tehran is discovering something uncomfortable. Its allies are transactional, not loyal. Since 2018, after the United States exited the nuclear deal, Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, pushed a look east strategy. The logic was simple. If the West isolates us, we pivot to Moscow and Beijing. And Iran followed through. Joint naval drills in the Gulf of Oman, missile cooperation, oil sales to China, military coordination in Syria. On paper, the partnership looked strong, but when it comes to actual war with the United States, the support shrinks dramatically. This week, Russia and Iran held a small naval drill in the Gulf of Oman. China plans to join future exercises in the Strait of Hormuz. Now compare that to US deployments. Carrier strike groups, long-range bombers, advanced air defense systems, weeks-long sustained strike capability. US officials say Washington now has the option of launching a prolonged air campaign, not just a limited strike like the June Midnight Hammer operation. In contrast, Russia's helicopter carrier left immediately after the exercise ended. So why won't China intervene? China is Iran's largest oil customer. Roughly 20% of the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz. But Beijing's priority is stability, not confrontation. Aligning openly with Iran against the United States would damage relations with Washington, risk sanctions, endanger Gulf economic partnerships, disrupt global oil flows. China's approach is clear. Preserve oil access, avoid direct conflict, position itself for influence if Iran's leadership changes. If the regime collapses, Beijing will secure energy flows, not defend Tehran militarily. And what about Russia? Moscow has benefited from Iran. Drone cooperation, sanctions evasion networks, regional coordination, but Russia is calculating carefully. It does not want to push Trump closer to Ukraine, risk direct US-Russia confrontation, stretch its own military capacity. Russian leaders may hope the Iranian regime survives, but they are unlikely to go to war with the United States to save it. Iran still holds leverage. It can disrupt the Strait of Hormuz regional oil infrastructure. US bases via proxies. Around 20% of global oil flows through Hormuz. That is Tehran's deterrent. But escalation there would also hurt China, its biggest customer, which is another reason Beijing prefers restraint. The narrative of a unified anti-Western axis is overstated. Russia and China share interests with Iran, but they do not share existential commitment. If the United States strikes Iran, Beijing and Moscow will calculate based on their own survival, their own economy, their own wars, not Tehran's, and that leaves Iran facing the most powerful military in the world, largely alone.
All of it.
Allahu Akbar. A few hours ago, not a few days, not a distant history. A few hours ago, the skies over the Middle East changed color, explosions, flashes of light, sirens sounded, and the world held its breath once again. A direct military strike was launched by the United States and Israel on Iranian territory. This was not a proxy war, not a shadow operation, not a conflict through intermediaries. This was a direct attack between sovereign states, and like almost all modern conflicts, the first strikes were not just missiles but also human casualties.
And today, as Charlie and many others in Israel took cover as air raid sirens rang out after Tehran vowed revenge for the killing of its supreme leader. Israel said its Iron Dome defense system blocked dozens of incoming missiles, but not all of them. CBS's MTS Tayeb reports from the Gulf of Oman.
Oh my God.
The powerful Iranian strikes have shattered Dubai's image as a luxurious safe haven of glittering hotels and high-end resorts. So too have the thick plumes of smoke that choke the skies above the Qatari capital Doha, known for its opulence and calm. The Kingdom of Bahrain also wasn't spared. Neither was Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, or Oman, where tankers were struck just off its shores in the Strait of Hormuz, a vital global shipping route where 1/5 of the world's oil passes through. In all, dozens of people have been injured and at least 4 killed in the Iranian attacks on the Gulf that have largely grounded flights and shut down commerce in the region. Tehran's decision to fire volleys of missiles and drones at the group of countries that make up the Gulf has only upped the ante. Most countries here host large U.S. military bases, housing tens of thousands of American service members, including the headquarters of the Navy's Fifth Fleet in Bahrain, which was struck on Saturday. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has threatened his country's armed forces will, quote, crush the U.S. bases with force. And while most Iranian drones and missiles have been intercepted and no Gulf nation has fired back, the question now is, for how long? Fears of a sustained conflict expanding beyond Iran's borders have only grown following the killing of the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
Pakistan pro-regime demonstrators attempted to storm the U.S. consulate in Karachi. At least 20 people were killed.
Protests have also erupted in Iraq, where hundreds were pushed away from the Green Zone in Baghdad with water cannons just a short distance from the American embassy.
The US alone striking more than 1,000 targets. V-2 stealth bombers armed with 2,000-pound bombs striking Iran's ballistic missile facilities. The president saying multiple Iranian Navy ships were destroyed, sinking in the water, claiming Iran's top military leaders want to surrender. Israel saying the joint operation has knocked out nearly all of Iran's defenses, leading to near total air supremacy over Iran, making it safer for fighter pilots to attack targets in the country. But Iran is still striking back, launching a fierce assault on US bases and at least 9 countries across the region. The airports in Dubai and Kuwait hit. New video emerging showing smoke filling the terminals. Here in the hills of Jerusalem, an Iranian missile evading air defense systems, slamming into the town of Beit Shemesh. At least 9 people killed. Victims carried out on stretchers.
Oh my goodness. Used to be a synagogue, used to be a house.
Saying too much about Iran. They said that we're cool. They said that we are cool. They said African Americans have been through a lot. So don't say too much. Don't go over there and don't be doing too much. And you know, if you look like us and you wearing that camo, you better not be doing too much. Because they said that.
Just a reminder that we are held hostage here. I have no sovereignty. I don't have a say. Bitch, we ain't got no dog in this fight. I'll tell you that. I ain't got no dog in this fight.
Okay, so Iran says to America, let's talk about it. I learned some interesting information this morning, actually, via another creator on TikTok. I forgot his profile. I would love to give him credit. I forgot who it was, though. But I verified it through my own research to make sure it was true. So, in 1979, some hostages get kidnapped at an American embassy somewhere in the Middle East. I want to say it was in Iran. It may have been somewhere else, but hostages get kidnapped. Iran, again, they kidnapped all these hostages. They let the black people go. Why do you ask? I forgot the exact wording they used, but pretty much, I'm paraphrasing. They were like, hey, look, we get that y'all are oppressed and y'all fucked up in the game too. So, hey, go ahead, player. Later on, the other hostages are released, actually through a plan that Jimmy Carter, kind of put together. But Ronald Reagan was somehow able to weasel his way into making sure that the things didn't happen until after he got elected. So, just like a Republican. But yeah, the more you know.
When that man threatened Iran last week, he said to the protesters, don't worry, help is on the way. And he said to the Iranian leaders, y'all need to back up. And then the Iranian leaders or a spokesperson or someone in government said, we're not going to miss next time. And the U.S. at the White House level sort of quieted down. And you know what? Listen, I just remember, I'm old enough to remember during the Iranian hostage crisis, as we called it here in this country, when the U.S. embassy fell to the revolution there and American hostages were taken. And what most Americans remember is that the hostages were held for 300 something days, maybe 313 days or something. Americans started having a yellow ribbon to symbolize the hostages and all this kind of stuff. And the hostages were released. There was an attempt to get them out and that failed. And eventually they were released and it was negotiated and worked out under Jimmy Carter. But Reagan had won the election and had worked out to hold those hostages there until he got in. So in pop culture, many people think Reagan got the hostages released with. But that's not what this video is about. You know what this video is about? When they had those hostages, the Iranians said, we're going to let the black people go. The Iranians let the black people go because they said, listen, we know y'all working here for this government, but we know you are not in control of that government over there in the United States. Y'all can go. And that's sort of some forgotten history about the Iranian, what we call the Iranian hostage crisis. And so now that there's another little battle going on between this government and the Iranians and the revolution there and the battles we're having here, all I'm saying is, if y'all decide to do something, just remember, just like y'all let us go last time, leave us out of this mess.
فين مفتاح السيارة؟ ما في سيارة أصلا يا كريم. ما في سيارة. ما بتقطع. هاي ضربة. هاي ضربة. طولي بالك طولي بالك يلا.
يا ساتر يا رب. ايه هون. يا
Oh my God! Oh my God! Holy! No! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh shit!
Why, yo! Oh,
Ебать. Готуйтесь до взриву.
Oh my God, it's bomb debris. Here! Oh my God, it's a bomb!
Oh my God! This regional war has become personal. Iran's attacks reaching the homes of some of Dubai's residents.
No joking, guys. We have just been hit by a drone. We have it coming. It stinks of oil in here. I didn't even finish my cup of tea.
Embassy and government advice to shelter in place for most means to stay at home. But that wasn't a safe option for some people today. The UAE has reported at least 3 deaths so far in these strikes, and dozens more have been injured. This sense of terror has driven some families to hit the road to Oman in search of safety. One family, a mother, grandmother and newborn baby, staying at the Fairmont on Dubai's Palm when it was hit.
Second. Come on. That shot! Oh, fuck! Holy damn!
Oh, leck mich. Die kommt runter. Die kommt runter. Die greift Dubai an. Die kommt runter. Scheiße. Die trifft Dubai. Fuck!
All right, so this is breaking. We got some retaliatory strikes coming in from Iran into the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters at Naval Support Activity Bahrain. This video right here was of a one-way UAS that was sent over there from Iran, and it's already been geolocated to the small island of Manama in Bahrain, over by the NSA Next mini-mart right around the corner, over by the baseball field, by those little balls. You can see in the video, there's that big ball right there. There's that ball on the map. So there was also a ballistic missile that reportedly impacted the 5th Fleet headquarters at Naval Support Activity Bahrain this morning as well, which is a pretty major escalation, and it didn't get intercepted, so it crashed, actually hit. This is still developing. There's been a wave of ballistic missiles and possibly unmanned aerial systems sent to multiple U.S. bases across the Gulf, including Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, the UAE. There was an interception at the UAE, actually. Al Udeid base in Qatar was targeted. Missiles were intercepted. Airspace has been closed there. The UAE had Al Dhafar base targeted, intercepted. One person died from debris and shrapnel. Airspace has been closed. Ali Al Salim base in Kuwait has been targeted. Explosions have happened. Airspace is closed. closed. Explosions in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Airspace has been closed. Missiles have been downed over Oman and territories near Jordan. Airspace has been closed. The PMF base was struck, resulting in 2 people being killed. What the
What the is that? Holy shit!
Oh my God.
Watch out!
Híjole.
Бля, будем здесь, малышка, тут пойми где, блин.
ليك وين
בשוקולד חולון, פגיעה ישירה, אוטובוס שלם עולה באש, אוטובוס שלם עולה באש, מכוניות, אנשים. אני לא מאמין, 10 מטר מאיתנו יש פה אוטובוס עולה באש, אוטובוס שלם עולה באש, מכוניות, אנשים. אני לא מאמין, 10 מטר מאיתנו יש פה אוטובוס עולה באש.
The Iranians are too smart. They said, correct me if I'm wrong, but the statement is, if America bombs us, we hit Israel with everything we have because we treat Israel as an extension of America. We don't separate the two. If Israel attacks us, we hit the American bases because Israel and America are the same. Our target deck will not change. If you want a war with us, we'll bomb the same targets regardless of who starts the war.
There's been a bunch of reports of Iranian missiles that seem to have separating warheads. And what I mean by that is like fragmenting warheads, not necessarily multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, which is where warheads can guide off, they can separate and guide off to distant separate targets. What I'm talking about is more like cluster munitions.
Watch the first two Patriots. There's the first Patriot, and here comes the second. And if you bear with me, you'll see the incoming Iranian rocket come in right... Let me see. Right there, the white one. And the first Patriot is gonna go straight past it. The second one is also going to miss it. So the Patriot air defense system launches a third one. Right now, that also misses by a landslide. Shoop! And the Iranian missile proceeds to impact the military base.
If Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, what impact will it have on the entire world, and which country will be affected the most? First, let's understand what the Strait of Hormuz actually is. It is a small area of just 33 kilometers located between Iran, Oman, and the UAE. It is a narrow sea passage through which almost 20% of the world's oil supply flows, nearly 17 million barrels every day. This oil comes from 8 countries located in the Persian Gulf, including Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE for the United Arab Emirates. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar, 90% of their oil exports pass through this narrow route to reach the rest of the world. If Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, following countries will suffer the most damage. First is India, because it imports 85% of its oil, and 60% of that comes from Middle Eastern countries like Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the UAE. Fuel prices in India would skyrocket, and as a result, everything related to oil and all industries would face severe disruption. Industries could shut down, there would be job losses, and the economy would be severely affected. The second most affected country would be China. China is the world's largest oil importer, bringing in 10 million barrels of oil every day. 40% of China's oil imports pass through this Strait of Hormuz. Although China has built oil pipelines with Russia and Central Asia, they don't even fulfill 20% of its energy needs. So, if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, China's economy could suffer a massive blow, and if China's economy is shaken, its effects will be felt all over the world. The third most affected country would be Japan, as it imports 90% of its oil, and 75% of that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. The fourth most affected country would be Saudi Arabia. 80 to 90% of Saudi Arabia's oil goes to the rest of the world through Strait of Hormuz, while only 10% goes to Europe via its Red Sea coastline. So if this choke point is blocked, Saudi Arabia's economy will be heavily impacted. Imagine that a country suddenly loses 80 to 90% of its revenue. What would happen to it? Something similar could happen to Saudi Arabia. There's also a high chance that Saudi Arabia might send in its military to reopen the route, and that could make the situation even worse. Fifth is Pakistan, which gets about 90% of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz. This oil meets around 27% of the country's energy needs. So if the route is blocked, prices in Pakistan could rise sharply. But there's an interesting twist. Since Pakistan shares a border with Iran, and several government reports suggest that 35% of Pakistan's diesel comes unofficially from Iran. So if the strait is blocked, Pakistan might turn to Iran for oil, either quietly or through an official deal. Next in line is the UAE, because as nearly as 72% of its oil exports rely on this Strait of Hormuz, the country does have a backup option, the Habshan-Fujairah pipeline, which allows it to bypass the strait and export up to 60% of its oil. But for a major economy like the UAE, losing the remaining 40% would still be a serious blow. Next comes the European countries like France, Germany and Italy, which on average get 10% of their oil through the Strait of Hormuz. A blockade here would hit them hard as well. Globally, experts warn that oil prices could soar past $150 a barrel, causing widespread inflation and possibly triggering a major global recession. So this small 33-kilometer area holds enough power to shake the entire world.
There has been a dramatic escalation with a big claim that has been made by Iran. Iran has claimed that the US aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, has been targeted with 4 ballistic missiles. That's the claim that has been made by Iran. Iran making the announcement that in True Promise 4, the IRGC has taken action against the USS Abraham Lincoln. That's a claim that has been made by Iran. This is a massive escalation. Iran's claim is that the USS Abraham Lincoln has been targeted by Iran. Now, what is the impact, and can Iran really sink the USS Abraham Lincoln? The claim that has been made by Iran, and it had already said that this is going to be the first target of Iran after Khomeini's death. Remember, Tehran had made it clear that it possesses weapons that are capable of sending the US warships to seabed. This was a threat that was issued by Iran already, saying vessels like the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is currently deployed in the Arabian Sea, will be targeted by Iran. And now Iran has made it clear that it is targeting Abraham Lincoln.
Alrighty then, that will be all that I have for tonight. I most likely will put together videos like this in the near future. And it's tonight. It's late for me. And I'm ready to shut up the shop or shut down the shop. And I hope this video was informative for you or to you as it was for me. Thank you for checking it out. Thank you for your support. And I will see you guys in the next video.